The reign of King Edward VI is often remembered as a time of Protestant reform, but there was also religious persecution in his reign. On the 24th or 25th of April 1551, a man named George van Parris was burnt at the stake in Smithfield, not for being Catholic, but for being too radical in his Protestant beliefs. His is a forgotten Tudor execution, but why was this man burned? George van Parris was a Flemish or Hessian surgeon who'd settled in England. He was naturalised in October 1550 and lived in London, where he attended the Dutch church at Austin Friars. But his beliefs soon set him apart, so much so that even his own congregation excommunicated him. Van Parris wasn't executed for being Catholic, but for a belief called Arianism, the idea that Jesus was created by God rather than being divine himself. This belief had been condemned as heresy centuries earlier, but Van Parris continued to preach it. The execution of Joan Bocher in May 1550, another Protestant burnt for her beliefs, had led the authorities to clamp down on religious radicalism. Edward VI himself recorded Van Parris's arrest in his journal on the 7th of April 1551, noting that he was put on trial after a long disputation with some of the most powerful religious figures in England, including Archbishop Thomas Cranmer, Bishop Nicholas Ridley and Bible translator Miles Coverdale, who even translated for him as Van Parris spoke little English. Efforts were made to save him, as he'd lived an exemplary life. But ultimately, his belief was considered too dangerous. On the 24th or 25th of April 1551, George van Parris was burnt at the stake in Smithfield for his heretical views. A man who had lived a good life but whose beliefs didn't fit the official doctrine was condemned to die. Edward VI's reign is often seen as a victory for Protestantism, but executions like those of George van Parris and Joan Bocher remind us that religious tolerance was still far away. Even in a Protestant England, straying too far from accepted doctrine could cost you your life. What do you think? Was Van Parris's execution justified, or was it a step too far? Do let me know in the comments. And what do you think England would have been like if Edward VI had lived to his majority and reigned himself? Personally, I think he would have been as zealous as Mary I, and we would have seen more religious radicals and also Catholics being persecuted. But what do you think? I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.